I'm Harv Nagra. I'm an operations consultant, a former in house agency operations director, and head of brand communications at Scoro. Welcome to The Handbook, the Agency Operations Podcast, a space where we talk to fellow experts and operations leaders about agency life, discussing the challenges keeping us up at night, as well as strategies that help make things run a little bit smoother. Hey, all, welcome back to the podcast. Today's topic is one I've wanted to cover for a while. As our agencies grow up, a lot of us start moving beyond just deliverables, the website, the logo, the campaign, and into strategy. We develop methodologies, frameworks, and ways of thinking that add value to our clients. But selling that thinking, that's where a lot of us get stuck. Too often, we give it away in proposals and pitches, laying out the roadmap for free, and hoping to recover some of the cost in the final quote. When the client keeps the deck full of ideas but doesn't sign off the project, that really stings. Lately, I've also seen more agencies rebranding as consultancies, hoping that label alone is going to justify higher fees. But if your process hasn't changed, if you're still pricing like a vendor, competing on execution, and haven't figured out how to sell your strategy, you're not actually capturing the value of your expertise. But the truth is, clients don't just need someone to do the work. They do need someone to help them think about it, to shape their approach and make better decisions. When we don't charge for that thinking, we reinforce the idea that strategy is free. So how do we stop the race to the bottom on deliverables and start getting paid for the real value we bring? How do we start to position ourselves as true partners and not just suppliers? That's what we're going to be tackling in today's episode. Our guest today is someone who spent years helping agencies stop giving away their best thinking for free. Max Traylor is a consultant, speaker, and author who specializes in helping agencies get access to decision makers at client accounts, as well as package their knowledge into something scalable so they can sell strategy, not just execution. He's the host of Beers with Max, where he's had unfiltered conversations with some of the best minds in consulting and marketing. I had the pleasure of going on his show to talk about business maturity a few months ago. And he literally wrote a book on this, Agency Survival Guide. So today we're going to dig into why so many agencies struggle to monetize their best expertise, what it really takes to shift from vendor to trusted advisor, and how to stop leaving money on the table. Let's talk to Max. I'm really glad to have you here. First of all, I had the pleasure of joining you on your show a little while ago. And we were drinking beers. Sadly, I've got a glass of water with me today. Anything more interesting going on your side?
I've got a liquid death
Oh, right. That's your
sparkling water.
fancy water, isn't it? Nice one.
It is a fancy water, and if I went back in time, I would start a fancy water company because
Do you
boy, do
think?
they have it going on.
Yeah.
Like I have one of the machines that turns the water into bubble water,
Yep.
and I'm just thinking like these things are like $3.
Mm.
So
Yeah, it's
we could have been cleaning it up. This shows us that marketing still has a place in the world because you could take water plus packaging and branding and distribution. They got to be doing something right.
Yep.
Placement. So those 4 Ps that we all used to talk about
Mm.
back in the day, good for them.
It
We
is
could have
good
done it, but
business.
no.
So, Max, I had the pleasure of reading your book, Agency Survival Guide, recently, and I found it really, really inspiring. So, first of all, shout out to you for writing that, and well done. You've got a couple of books now, don't you? And a couple in that series as well, Agency Survival Guide.
Yeah, yeah. So I could never finish the first book because I was always coming up with new ideas.
Yeah,
So I just told myself I'm going to write one book many times, and that was easy because I could
excellent.
just cut it off and
Yeah,
say, all right, all ideas from now on will be in the next
volume
book.
2 and so
Yeah,
on.
and so
Cool, very cool.
I'm on the 3rd book. And for the last couple of years, I've been really focused on growing client accounts. I
Mm,
think as agencies get larger, there's a revenue pull shift. You know how like they said way like millions of years ago, there was a pull shift on Earth,
yep.
and that's why the oceans went crazy and all this. So as an agency gets larger, they believe there's a revenue pull shift because when you're small, new accounts have a much greater impact on the overall agency revenue
Hmm.
than growing accounts
Mm,
because there's only a few accounts to grow. But
right.
as you get larger and as there become more accounts, it becomes a larger opportunity to grow accounts
Mm,
than it does to add new accounts, because every new account that you add is like, oh, great, you increased revenue by 1%.
yeah,
We've got 100 clients now.
yeah.
But if you can grow 100 clients by 20%, whoa. So I've been really hammering that and digging into, how can basic relationship building and consultative selling be applied to the service team, and so that we don't see the service team as just a net loss and a hospice program for clients.
Mm. Before we get into it, Max, I don't know if in the States, like, has the agency market been a bit difficult? Because, like, certainly in the UK, that
Yeah,
has been the case.
2023 and 24 were trash.
Okay, so we're
Um,
speaking the same language in terms of, like, the challenges. There's this big fear about, like, AI, and everyone's scared of what that's gonna mean, and there's so much competition out there. I was talking to a friend just yesterday where he was talking about, like, when they go to pitch, they are pitching against the agency that is the cheapest, and nobody wants to compete against them, so it becomes like a race to the bottom in terms of pricing. I guess my point is, like, even when agencies try to position themselves as premium or strategic, sometimes they find themselves pitching against those guys. Is there a way you think that you can get out of this trap?
yeah, stop uh, pitching the work first. So this is pretty unanimous across agency advisors. I think the most prominent is probably David Baker.
Mhm.
With if you've read his book Business of Expertise or listened to really anything, he talks about only let people through the strategy door,
Okay.
because all of the new agencies that are going to undercut you on any sort of deliverable content, website production, whatever,
Mm.
they're going to undercut you on that. So
Okay.
you can't play. That's what my dad always said. If you want to win the game, don't play.
Mhm.
Well, maybe I'm mixing my analogies. Anyway, he said something like that.
Okay.
And the point is that when you have the experience, you can sell your experience.
Yeah.
You can say, look, you're getting pitched by agencies that are undercutting you. The brief is really non-existent. Like, you're not even at the point where you can realistically make a good buying decision. So let us help you clarify what your business objectives are. Let us
Mm.
help you understand what a proper budget would be, what real expectations over the next 6, 9 months would be, because all those people that are undercutting you, they've never even had a client for 9 months.
Mhm.
Everything they're telling you is BS.
Yeah.
And so you sell the thing that they don't have, which is
Mm.
experience. And you say, look, fine, go ask that agency that's cheaper.
Yeah.
Go ask them to talk to the person that's gonna take care of your account, because I guarantee you it's somebody super junior, and you're never gonna talk to the principal that you've got confidence in right now.
Yeah.
And then go look at their LinkedIn profiles and look at how long they've been doing this. Those are the 2 things. So you go, and if
Yeah.
after those 2 things you still wanna hire them, then God bless.
Mm. That is a really good point because I think a lot of agencies might take it the other way. They start with the positioning. So, and I think that's pretty easy to do on the surface level. You start calling yourself a consultancy. You start adding a strategy offer if you've never had one and think that's job done. But I think, first of all, that doesn't change anything in the perception in terms of the client. The client doesn't care you've called yourself a consultancy on your website and
Yeah,
that
the
you've,
the proof is in the people. Yeah.
yeah,
Oh, so you've got a strategy offer. Okay, you're a strategist.
yeah,
Show me their LinkedIn profile. Show me that they've had experience in my
yeah,
industry.
hmm,
So yes, on the because I help people do this for 10 years,
hmm,
productize their services and position themselves. And so, but I think clients are beginning to realize
hmm,
that there is no barrier to saying you do these things.
yeah,
You can fake case studies, like it all can be
hmm,
faked. Like, I don't trust any of the restaurant reviews anymore. No way. They're clearly fake. So what you can't fake, or what is very difficult to fake, is literally you've been doing this for 10 years.
hmm,
And everyone's LinkedIn profile shows exactly how long you've been in the workforce.
hmm,
It shows exactly your roles.
yeah.
So when people are like, "Oh, I'm a fractional CRO,"
Mm,
and 6 months ago they were an SEO consultant
yeah,
for a 10-person agency that's 2 years old. No,
mhm.
no, no, no. You're not allowed to do that.
But I wonder if there's also something there about adding just that strategy offer and not changing anything else is maybe not enough. Just thinking back to your book, you were talking about, like, needing to position yourself as the decision maker rather than the order takers.
Yeah, I mean, you have to be it, right? Like,
Mhm,
I called my dad and said, when I was trying to get this job and I was frustrated and I was like, Dad, I can't get a job. He said, well, Max, what do you want to do? And I said, I want to be a consultant. And he paused, this was on the phone. And then he said, okay, congratulations, you're a consultant. Because all that means is you make up the price. Like, you can't change your client's perception of you until you change your own perception.
Mm.
You are an advisor. You are a consultant. The most
Hmm.
valuable thing that you sell and deliver is your knowledge.
Yeah.
You have to believe that. And so when you're on the phone with a client and they say, hey, what do you do for people? And you say, well, the most valuable thing I do for people is I create a plan for them. And that's what that first book was about, is sell
Mm.
the plan.
Hmm.
Because we all do the planning. The most valuable thing that we can do, by the way, is the plan. And
Right.
we give away the plan in the sales process
In the
to
pitch.
win. And what we're telling our clients is that our planning is not valuable because we didn't charge for it.
Hmm.
What a client will do is they will look at the number on the proposal. There's a dollar sign, and then they will look at the words next to that dollar sign, and that's what you are to them. That is
Hmm.
your identity. So you could talk about being a strategic partner to your clients all you want. You could have 25 strategic conversations. If the word next to the number says website, says
Hmm.
content, says SEO, says anything tactical, you are a replaceable vendor. And
Hmm.
as a vendor, you do not get an invite to the decision maker table. It's a conflict of interest. You're not going to ask a website developer what they should spend more money on.
Mm.
You know what the answer is going to be.
Yeah.
So it's all about believing in yourself and then creating that perception and the reality that the most valuable thing you do for clients is give them access to your knowledge.
Hmm. I really love that, Max. So my question is like, when you're thinking about this, is there two levels there? Because a client might come to somebody with a brief on a particular project, right? So there's this strategy that's involved in that project. So I'm just wondering if you're saying that can also be part of what you do, or, I think what I was getting from reading your book was that you should also try to get in and be sitting with the client, making all the decisions about all their projects. Is there 2 levels, or are you suggesting just go
There
for that
there
big
are.
one?
There are transactional clients and there are strategic clients.
Mhm.
There are clients, I'm not going to use the word, but they're a certain type of someone
Yeah.
that, well, it rhymes with narcissist,
Yeah.
that will always see you as lesser than them. And so you could say, look, I'm a strategist and you really need help with the planning till you're blue in the face. They're gonna go, no, no,
Mm.
I'm the brilliant decision maker here. I wear the pants and I've got $20,000. Would you like the $20,000 to do this tactical thing?
Mm.
And as a business owner, you have to decide if you're willing to take that.
Mhm.
Now, before COVID, when I wrote that book,
Yeah.
I was on team do not take that business.
Mm.
But boy, did that change. And it didn't change in the first 2 years after COVID. Everything was fine. Agency business got better in 21, 22. But 23 and 24, budgets tightened up. It's the era of do more with less. A lot of businesses are going, look, I have to take that $20,000 to do the tactical thing.
Mhm.
And so um, I'm on team. Look, that's fine. Take the business, but don't sacrifice your process.
Mm.
Let's take websites, for example. Websites
Mhm.
are a miserable experience, in my opinion. But if done correctly, they can lead to better relationships. So if a client says, I want you to build my website, and you say, well, I'd really like to start with strategy first to make
Mm.
sure that is actually going to have the biggest impact on your business.
Mm.
We'll look at some other things. Strategic clients will go, wow, thank you. I would like to clarify the business case for this extremely expensive website. Other
Mm.
clients will say, nope, we're good. Thanks. You
Yeah.
want the 20 grand for the website or not? So those are clients that need to feel like they're in control. With those clients, you say, perfect. We're the best company to do your website. Sign here. Would you like to learn about our process, or are you ready to just get started? Because even for a tactical project, you do not sacrifice your process. You're still going to do strategic work. You're still going to do, I call them an alignment workshop, but understand where that website fits in the context of their other marketing activity, in the context of their business strategy.
Mhm.
So I don't care what you're being signed on for, do the strategy first.
Yeah.
I've just become a lot more open to how you get that initial deal because people are hurting from 23 and 24.
Yeah. So I was gonna say, for somebody that hasn't read the book, that was kind of the point, that you should focus on being the strategic partner and not touch implementation.
I mean, profit gets harder the more implementation work that you do. That's all. And as long as you have that warning, like skydiving is dangerous. I'm not going to tell professional skydivers to stop doing what they love,
Yeah.
but don't come to me and say, "Oh, I can't believe Darren broke both his legs." I'm like, "You're jumping out of plane,
Mhm.
you're taking on that risk." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, great, make your money,
Mhm.
but in a professional service, low margin business, which is high, that's what agencies are.
Mhm.
Churn and upsell are the thing. That's what you live and die by. And if you're perceived as a tactical marketing person, you're not going to get into conversations and opportunities for upsell.
Yeah.
You're just not.
Mhm.
So even when 90% of your business is tactical implementation, you still have to have a way to have grown up business conversations.
Mm.
And the easiest way to do that is to sell your expertise, because if your clients are paying for your expertise, they're going to bring their decision makers.
Mhm.
It's also, if you've got big accounts, if a client is paying you $1 million a year and you say, look, I really want your entire leadership team to come to this workshop to make sure that you're getting the most out of your $1 million. Yeah, they're going to pay attention. But the challenge is in that middle area where they're going to perceive you and try to marginalize you as just, oh, you're just this, you're just these marketing people that do our bidding, and you have that
Mm.
point of contact that's always the gatekeeper, and they don't want to let you talk to their boss or someone in sales. And so it's just ridiculous, and it's like a hospice program. You're just waiting for that client to die.
Mm.
And so we've gotta like not just deliver. We've got to recognize that the biggest sales opportunity is within those clients. So how do we upskill ourselves? How do we change perception? How do
Yeah.
we get access to some of those other budget holding decision makers so that we can
Mm.
grow those accounts?
Yeah, Max, that's what I wanted to get into next. It's like, how do you even get your foot in the door to start doing this? Maybe you can just outline that a little bit more, because you might have these existing relationships with clients that have done business with you in the past, and somebody new comes to you with a full RFP, right? So, how do
Sure.
you start indicating that this is going to be like a separate stage and it's going to be paid? We're not doing all of this strategy beforehand as part of the proposal that we're putting in.
Well, so these are like the signals that you send. So the first one that I look for is the roles,
Okay.
right? So even if you're not charging for it, let's say you've had a client for 10 years. Most agencies haven't had clients for 10 years. But let's say you've spent 10 years telegraphing
Hmm.
that you're a tactical, agency that draws their pictures.
Yeah.
Let's get crazy with it. We draw your pictures. We're super
Yeah.
marginalized. We're like kept in a dark room somewhere. So the
Uh-huh.
question is, how do we get conversations with, say, the head of sales,
Mm.
who thinks we're crayon pushers and don't deserve our time of day?
Mhm.
So the first is roles, because someone's going to have to reach out to that person.
Yeah.
And if the someone that reaches out to that person is Corey the crayon pusher, they're going to be no way. So I would look at the roles.
Okay.
The easiest way to get to somebody is to have a role that speaks to them.
Mm.
Hey, I'm the head of sales.
Mhm.
I'm the head of sales at my agency. I'm the agency sales advisor. I'm the growth advisor.
Mm.
Just something that says, I know the position you're in, and we're not going to have some tactical conversation about marketing. So the roles is one of the first things that I look at. And you can't fake roles. You
Mhm.
can't say, "Oh, I'm the sales growth advisor," and then your last four titles were Corey the crayon pusher.
Yeah.
So this is where there's often a gap in expertise, and so for some agencies, you have to get the agency principal involved,
Mhm.
because if you're running a business, generally you've got the gravitas, you've got access to have a grown up conversation with other business owners. You're in the business owner club. Doesn't
Yeah.
matter what kind of business, you're in the business owner club.
Mhm.
So a lot of agencies pride themselves that our founder, our agency principal, has gotten out of services.
Yeah.
That's all fine in principle, but they are like professor upsell. So we've got to design some experiences where they can come in simply to get the presence of the client's budget holding decision makers. I would recommend that happens on a quarterly basis.
Okay.
Now, you've got to have a reason for them to go, that is more than just, oh, so and so is going to be there, because otherwise, why wouldn't you just pick up the phone and call that person? So the universally valuable thing to any client's decision maker, and ultimately you want to get, if you're marketing, you want to expand your relationships to sales, product, and finance.
Hmm.
That those are like the four horsemen, the three other areas where you could get budget from. And so you have to find something universally valuable that you can talk about that benefits all four of those departments. Has nothing to do with marketing.
Hmm.
But if you can, this is why I love industry benchmarks, because if you come to the table and you say, hey, we've been researching and we've got insights on what your buyers are spending money on, their
Right.
challenges, their opportunities, the trends in their industry, everyone's going to go, yeah, I want to know that.
I love that.
This is why agencies do annual events for all of their clients, and they bring industry research. You can incorporate that into your quarterly business reviews. You can
Mm.
incorporate that into a separate sort of virtual event for your clients. But we have to think outside of our marketing box and think, okay, how can we add value to everybody? And I think research and buyer insights is probably the easiest first step.
Right. Okay. So you got your foot in the door, you've had those conversations, you demonstrate that value, and then you've got that relationship so you can start selling your strategic.
Well, you've got access. I wouldn't say you've got the relationship yet.
Okay.
Because first you need access, and
Mm.
then they need to tell you what's important to them,
Mhm.
which is also why I love research, because if they want to contribute to the research, it'll make it better.
Yeah.
So you're going to
Agreed.
ask the head of sales, you're going to ask the head of product, you're going to ask the head of finance, hey, what are your biggest challenges?
Mm.
What are the things that are on your roadmap for the
Mhm.
year? That's where the upsell opportunities come, and that's what the best relationships are based off of. Is
Mm.
how can is when somebody perceives that you understand what is most important to them.
Mhm.
And that's the first step, is to get them talking about what is most important to them.
Mhm.
And I guarantee it has nothing to do with marketing.
Mhm.
Your job is to listen and create that bridge.
Yeah.
Hey, you're launching a new product. That's the biggest thing on your milestone. How can we help? Maybe we could do some buyer research to tell you if they like the color purple or the color blue. Would that be helpful? Just
Mm.
however you can add value to those other relationships to maintain your access
Yeah.
and keep your ears open, those are the best sales opportunities. They're
Right.
far better than net new,
Mm.
because you already know the players, you already know
Yep.
they have budget, you already have budget sales events in your quarterly business reviews. So just got to get talking to these people. It's often a question I ask. Hey, marketing agency, how
Mm.
many conversations do you have that have nothing to do with marketing? Okay, that's a problem.
Mhm. So when it comes to that kind of strategic offer, what kind can you tell us maybe the kinds of things that could be sold as part of that? Just painting us a picture that is not just one line in a quote that says strategy.
So generally, the first thing that people have that is strategic is an audit.
Mhm.
Audits are trash. Like, so we've all had that client that's like, look, I already know it's broken. I don't need to pay you to tell you that it's broken.
Yeah.
So the problem with audits is they're incomplete. Like, why would you audit something without putting together the plan or a roadmap for how to solve that? So you can easily just tag on a roadmap or a set of recommendations to the audit, and it's a much more valuable. It's a much more you could and a strategy is a plan, right? So there you go. There's your strategy offer.
Mhm.
By the way, that is exactly what happens in the sales process. Your audit is the conversations that you're having, and the roadmap is your proposal. So you're already doing that one for free.
Mm.
First book, hey, sell the plan. Take
Mhm.
that, break it off, sell that for $5,000, $10,000, something that has single signature authority that
Mhm.
the CEO or someone that has budget can purchase without going through the 3 months of having to get a whole committee to agree to it. Um, Another standalone offer is an alignment workshop. So this is very strategic, but is the perfect way to start. And that is to say, okay, you've got this brief here. The brief looks like trash. The reality is you've never purchased anything like this before. The decision makers, like your leadership team, isn't even on the same page.
Yeah.
I would really love to help you, like, get everybody on the same page, align on what is most important, and then show you where the gaps are in this plan. Like, what should the goals be? What are the team roles? What's the timeline of activity? and let's clarify what the gap is that a third party vendor is going to try and solve. So that alignment workshop is also a standalone offer that you can do,
Mhm.
a couple hours, 5 grand, 10 grand as a single thing. I
Yeah.
like to combine those three as the first 3 to 5 week strategic offer. You do an
Okay.
alignment workshop to
Yeah.
determine what's most important. You benchmark their capabilities in that area that is most important. And then you create a strategic roadmap of the things that you're going to do to capture that most important opportunity and fill the gaps. Takes about 3 to 5 weeks. You could charge, well, I don't know, some people charge like 100 grand for that, but
Mhm.
uh, 10 to 20 grand. And that roadmap of opportunity becomes your upsell roadmap.
Mm.
That's your account plan. That's your upsell roadmap. You remind the client of that every time you meet. And all of a sudden, at the end of the first quarter, you're not saying, hey, can I upsell you something? The conversation is now, hey, are we ready to do the next thing that we've been talking about for 3 months?
Yeah. I really, really love that.
Um, yeah. And then, so the other thing I would say is that agencies are comically delusional about their QBRs, quarterly business reviews,
Mhm.
where the whole point is to listen to a client, talk about their business objectives, and for us to align our capabilities with their business objectives. 90% of those meetings and agency principals will say, oh, yeah, we do that. We do great QBRs. Yeah, look at your deck. If it's got 50 slides of charts and graphs and numbers,
Mhm.
that's you making a presentation of tactical shit. Then you look at your recorded calls. AI can tell you how much you talk versus they talk. If you're talking 90% of the time, it's not a conversation.
Mhm.
They should be doing the majority of the talking.
Right.
So it's the primary way of maintaining alignment and maintaining your business relationship with a client. Agencies are completely delusional because generally the principal hasn't done one of those,
Mhm.
believes that it's being done that way, and it just isn't. So
So, Max, like, if you get into that kind of situation where you are able to offer this as this, like, I don't want to say standalone service, but if there was a separation of implementation, um, what's my question? It's just slipped
well,
my
and
mind.
and and yes, like I've got clients right now
Yeah,
where it's a standalone service,
yeah.
and I've got clients that are like, hey, we don't want to make it a standalone service. Our client engagements are big enough. We just want to keep them and upsell them, right? So
Yeah.
they're doing this as just a cost of keeping the
Mhm.
client and the cost of upsell, which is significantly lower than the cost of a new sale.
Yeah. I appreciate that. I remember what I was gonna say now. There was something that I was reading about you saying that you can also, like, through all this work, become the person that helps them assess the vendors.
Yeah. So if the worst thing that could happen is for you to be vendorified,
Mm,
I put this into my second book. It's in the Urban Dictionary and read
mm.
it. But to
Okay.
be vendorified is when you go from being a strategic partner, you get
Yeah.
relegated
Mm,
to being a vendor. Um, the best way to tell a client that you're not a vendor is
mhm.
to add vendor evaluation to your strategy offer,
It's brilliant.
right? So remember, the strategy offer is we align on what's most important, we
Mm,
benchmark your capabilities, and we create a roadmap for solving that problem. Well,
mhm,
in that roadmap, a part of the plan is, hey, you don't have the skills to do some of these things.
mhm.
Here are the people we think you should hire and how to evaluate them.
Yeah. That
Client's not going to look at us as a vendor because we're literally saying we
yeah.
can help you evaluate other vendors.
Yeah.
If they've never hired somebody for marketing and they've never worked with either internally or third party,
Mhm,
the education or the training on what to look out for, how to evaluate vendors, I mean, that's like probably the most important thing that you could do. Hey, you're
mhm,
now entering a world where you're going to spend money, you're going to get burned.
mm,
It's crazy out there. And
mhm.
everyone looks like they know what they're doing because they're marketers. They got a nice website.
Very, very good point. So you I think you said a bit earlier in the call about well, we were talking about productization briefly, but strategy being productized, does that work and how does that work?
Well, anything can be productized. And I use the word productize as a big word because it sounds smart.
Mm,
But really, it just means you do the same thing for the same people for the same price. Things, steps, fees. It is more of a mindset. So the services mindset is we just do whatever is most valuable for the client.
Mhm.
And we know that the profit margin is going to go up and down. It's wildly unpredictable.
Mhm.
The opposite of that is treating it like a product.
Mm.
Like it's on an assembly line. The exact same amount of material goes in. It
Mhm.
looks the same every time. There's product standards. It's probably
Yeah.
made on an assembly line.
Mhm.
So the more you can think of your service as consistent deliverables, consistent process, consistent fees, the more profitable you're going to be,
Mhm.
the better positioned you're going to be because people can say, "Oh, I know exactly what you do. You make shoes. I know what they look like. They go on your feet."
Yeah.
It's not like, "Well, what do you do?" It's like, "Oh, it depends. Do you want shoes on your hands or shoes on your feet?" No, we know what you freaking do.
Yeah.
Um, and it's much easier to set and meet client expectations. I mean, that's just a better service business.
Mhm.
Um, and so can strategy be productized? Absolutely. Here are the
Mm.
steps we go through.
Mhm.
Here's what the client gets and what the client does not get.
Mm.
Here's a timeline. We
Mhm.
know what it costs.
Yeah.
Productized.
Excellent. So, Max, if someone's listening and they're thinking, this is what I want to do, being more strategic and selling that as part of their offer, where do you think you would advise that they should get started?
Yeah.
Like, what are the
So
first
here's the
steps?
first thing that you should do. It's the most powerful thing you can do. Go to your
Yeah.
clients
Hmm.
and ask them one question. What is the least valuable thing that we do for you?
Mm.
That's a question to ask. So what that's going to do is it's going to help you with profitability
Hmm.
because you're probably a CEO did this the other day and called me up and he was like, "Yeah, they said it was the QBRs, the
Mm.
quarterly business reviews, right?
Yeah.
The most strategic thing that you're supposed to be doing, that's the least valuable." And they said like, "Yeah, you guys are just like reporting stuff to us. We really need you thinking 6, 12 months down the line." And I was just like lapping it up. I'm like, "Yeah, I
Mm.
told you."
Hmm.
But it's a really good question because it's only something that a strategic partner would ask.
Hmm.
Vendors don't ask that. Vendor is like, "Hey, what should we stop doing for you?" A vendor would
Yeah.
never ask that.
You might be afraid to ask that actually.
Well, they're terrified. Yeah,
Yeah.
they're terrified of losing clients. Actually, this is for another thing. But my theory is that most are just terrified of being exposed because deep down they believe that they're not actually adding any value.
Right.
That's a different problem, but that's what I think the reality is. Sorry if that cut too deep for some of you.
No.
Go find something valuable. But yeah, so that's number one. Number
Okay.
two is the next time you have a sales opportunity, sell the proposal process. You already do the proposal process, so don't give me this like, oh, I don't know what I should do. Like you sell your exact proposal process. You put a $5,000 tag on it.
Hmm.
Just start at five. The pricing doesn't matter, so just start at five.
Hmm.
Those are the two things that you should do.
Mm. And then be brave with this and
And be brave.
try,
That's the mindset. Be
right?
strong.
Yeah.
You know?
Nice.
It's not rocket science. You
Yeah.
could read any book on what agencies should do better. They're all gonna say sell strategic work.
Mm.
They're all gonna say have adult conversations with budget holding decision makers. So like none of this is like, oh my God.
Mhm.
The real challenge is like what is holding people back psychologically,
Mm.
and it's something in between imposter syndrome when they have the skills and they're just not being recognized, or they
Yeah.
literally don't have the skills yet and they're not adding value,
Mm.
but they're avoiding having that conversation. Because the only way to get past that is to have a real adult conversation with your
Mhm.
clients, because they'll tell you what would be really valuable, but you got to be open to the fact that it might not be what you're doing right now.
Mhm. I think there's just that element of fear also that the other guy is gonna be cheaper and how are you gonna get your foot in the door? But I think the point is you just have to start and try it and you'll learn something along the way and
Yeah, or do it for existing clients. So there's nothing stopping you from going like if currently you go to your best client, if you do not have an understanding of what their priority initiatives are,
Mhm.
initiatives mean projects, but they're serious projects
Yeah.
for clients. Things that they have said, okay, we're going to spend money on this. There's success and failure criteria. Someone's been assigned to this. That's called an initiative.
Mhm.
And when people plan strategically, there's a roadmap. There's okay, 2025, here's what we're trying to accomplish in Q2, Q3, Q4. So
Mhm.
you got to get your hands on that. And then you've got to say, okay, here's how we can add the most value during those quarters. So that's your objective. Every client should have that. It's called an account plan.
Mhm.
Every client should have that little roadmap. Um, Go build that with your client. And I would say if you don't have it for an existing client, don't even charge for it the first time. Go build that with them because like your account's in danger, by the way.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
build that for them. And then after you've done it 2 or 3 times, have a third party go interview those clients and ask them the same question. What's the least valuable thing we do for you? What's the most valuable thing they do for you? And I guarantee that those conversations where you're
Mhm.
helping them think into the future and make grown-up decisions, those are going to be some of the most valuable things you do. Now you've got the confidence. Now you can start to weaponize that in the sales process as like, oh yeah, those other cheap guys, they're gonna try and sell you a cheap content package.
Yeah.
We've learned, we really want to help you think.
Really, really good advice. So, Max, we're coming up towards the end now. Where can people connect with you and learn more about what you do?
Oh, LinkedIn.
Okay, LinkedIn.
I'm a one trick pony. I
Excellent.
just
Okay.
I'm out there. I'm on LinkedIn spitting some occasionally offensive stuff.
No, very, very informative and interesting stuff, and loads of video content as well, which I love. So, definitely, I will put a link to your profile in the episode notes. And, Max, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on today.
Thank you for
Thank you.
having me.
And I need to
Hopefully
read
I
the
didn't
next book.
offend. I apologize to your
No,
audience.
I'm not offended, but I need a copy of that second book so we can book in our
Yeah,
follow-up
the
sessions.
yellow
And
book. Yeah,
yes,
Consultant Survival Guide.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Hi again, all. Just a few reflections from me before we wrap up. If you've struggled to sell your thinking rather than the doing, I hope you took some things away from that conversation with Max. My key takeaways: if a client sees you as a vendor, you'll always be replaceable. The best way to change that perception: start charging for strategy, not just giving it away in the sales process. Number two, your role at the table is only as strong as the relationships you build. If you're only talking to your client's marketing team, you're missing out on conversations with sales, product, and finance, people who may be hugely influential in the decision and could also be holding the budget. And number three, if you want to start shifting towards a more strategic role, ask your clients a simple but powerful question: what's the least valuable thing we do for you? The answer might surprise you and could be guiding your way towards offering what is truly needed. If you enjoyed this episode, please take a moment to share it with someone in your network who would appreciate it. And if you haven't already, I'd really appreciate if you could rate and review the show. And don't forget to sign up for the Handbook newsletter, where we share a cheat sheet of the key takeaways from each episode so you can go reference the ideas at a later time. Go to scoro.com/podcast, scroll down, and you'll find where to put in your email. That's it for me. I'll be back with the next episode soon. This podcast is brought to you by Scoro, a platform designed for agencies and consultancies, which allows you to manage your projects, finances, and resources, all from one system. This is a platform I brought in at a previous workplace, which completely transformed the way we worked, and which I've recommended to clients of my own. You can sign up for a free trial on scoro.com. That's SCORO.com. Or reach out to me, Harv Nagra, on LinkedIn if you'd like to hear about some of my experiences.